Let's fry up the griddle. Good morning, Ed. How are you today?
Man, you're making me hungry talking about the griddle, boy. Let me
Hey,
tell you.
man, we're cooking. The Philadelphia Eagles
Uh,
are 12-1. Another week, another hardware. Make room on the mantle over there down at the NovaCare complex. Brandon Graham, I saw you put out over there at the Eagles today. Is your NFC Defensive Player of the Week?
yeah. I mean, listen, that's really not a surprise. 34 years old, 3 sacks, forced fumble. It's his second award of the season, which only two other Eagles have done that in history, and that was Eric Allen and Seth
Oh, wow.
Joyner back in the 1990s. So, when you think about how long Graham has been in this league and the fact he's coming off an Achilles, to have the kind of season he's having is certainly going to carry some weight at the bargaining table when he sits down with the Eagles to discuss another contract, probably a 1-year deal coming back next year.
Why not?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he'll go anywhere else. I think if the Eagles offer him fair compensation, and really, why wouldn't they? He's proven to be a tremendous pass rusher in, kind of a reduced role for him. He's not playing nearly as many snaps, and he's really effective when he comes in there. So, I think he'll be back. 1-year deal, reasonable price, and he'll just keep adding to his numbers. He's creeping up, I think, on 70 career sacks. It's a pretty nice milestone to have. So yeah, NFC Defensive Player of the Week. I think the biggest surprise, Rick, was Miles Sanders wasn't the Offensive Player of the Week. I mean, the Eagles have been hogging this award all year, really. It was the 8th time they've had a player or players named Player of the Week. But what Sanders did, man, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns, one from distance, 40 yards, the other up close, 3 yards. He's got 11 touchdowns. So, he could have deserved this award too. It went to Baker Mayfield, the quarterback of the Rams. For a very short time, came in and threw for 230, led a late comeback drive. But, Sanders was equally deserving of this award. But you can't give it to the Eagles, 2 Eagles every single week. I mean, it's
Why
just
not, though? If the performance dictates it, and that was going to be my next question, because you
yeah.
said Brandon Graham was not a surprise, but I was surprised Baker Mayfield. Like, what are we just, we're in the Human Nature Feel Good Awards? No, this is about top performances, and Baker Mayfield's the stats just weren't that gaudy. Like,
No.
I just feel like the media felt bad for the guy. Oh, let's give it to Baker.
Or they said, look, we can't give it to 2 Eagles in the same week. I mean, I
Why
don't know
not?
if I know. I agree with you. I mean, I don't know if that's ever been done. I mean, I really don't know the history of these awards. But and listen, you're 12-1. You're the first team to clinch a playoff spot, right? So yeah, why not give it to 2 Eagles? It certainly would have been deserving. 144. I mean, again, you can recite the stats and compare them to Baker Mayfield, but Miles should have won the Offensive Player. In fact, I thought if anybody was going to get it, if they were just going to give one, I thought Miles would get it over Brandon Graham, but hey, I don't vote on that stuff.
Well, and I think the concern here, Ed, is like when we get to the real hardware, such as MVP, like I don't want it to be a popularity contest because everybody loves Patrick Mahomes. Like it should be about performance. And to me, Jalen Hurts' performance dictates he should be the most valuable player award. So are we going to see this favoritism and popularity contest trickle over to the MVP race? Because then we got to start as fans calling into question some of these voters.
Yeah, listen, I agree. I think Hurts probably deserves the award, but we still have 4 games to go yet. We'll see how it all shakes out at the end. But right now, he should be the leader in the clubhouse. And I don't know what the national perception of him is as far as we're seeing things that a quarterback. I mean, Lamar Jackson obviously can do things with his legs, and he won an MVP award. And I think Hurts is a better passer than Lamar Jackson. Hurts could still go over 4,000 yards passing. He could probably should go over 900 yards rushing, I would think. I mean, those are pretty phenomenal numbers. And we saw him do that at Oklahoma his last year. He had a great year at Oklahoma, over 1,000 yards rushing, and passing numbers were high. But now he's doing it in the NFL at a whole nother level after making a big jump from his first year as a starter until now. His completion percentage is up. It's above Patrick Mahomes, as I know Mahomes throws it a lot more. But, Hurts is completing 68 point something of his attempts, which is, to me, very, very solid. But again, here we go. There's going to be so many postseason awards that probably should go to Eagles, like Coach of the Year, Nick Sirianni, right? Probably should win it. Don't think he will. Executive of the Year, Howie
Wait,
Rose.
why? Who's going to win?
Well, I mean, look, you could go to Pete Carroll maybe in Seattle if they make the playoffs,
so. No,
I know. I mean, you
I
wonder.
don't think Seattle might not even make the playoffs. We shall see.
I know. Again, 4 weeks to play this thing out, but
But to that point, somebody in the chat said, "Oh, Geno Smith should get the comeback player of the year." Well, what is he coming back from exactly? He was never good. I mean, what is he coming back from? So,
well,
I guess your interpretation of what the award means is also another factor.
Well, I think when you come back player of the year, I think you're coming back from an injury, and I think Joe Burrow won it last year for coming back from an ACL. And
well, I don't know. See, I don't think that is that an unwritten rule? Because technically Geno Smith was banished to the bench for a decade. Now, if he was actually good with the Jets or was like a relevant player, I could understand the logic. But it's like, yo, Geno, you were benched for a decade because you weren't any good. So I don't know what you're coming back from, the dead. And an MVP, Ed, I can ask you what the most valuable player is. I can ask the next guest what it means to them. I can ask myself what it means to me. And you're probably going to get a different answer, right? Is it the most valuable player on the team? Is it the best player in the league? Is it the best player on the team? Right? It can be interpreted so many different ways.
Absolutely. I like to look at numbers when you start looking into the MVP. And then would that team still be doing the things it's doing if that player wasn't on the team? Now, I think you could say Mahomes and Hurts, you take them off their team and they're not going to be the same team. But I like to look at numbers when it comes to the MVP and, compare them that way. And again, Hurts does things that most quarterbacks can't do. It makes him a unicorn, so to speak, in this league. And, I think you have to factor that in as well. You have to look at the totality and not just the passing yards and this and that. But, for me right now, he's got to be the MVP. I don't have a vote. I should put that out there. I do not vote. But like I was going to say with these Player of the Week awards, you don't want to favor the Eagles too much, I guess. I mean, you could say the same thing about these postseason awards. Like Brandon Graham probably should be the comeback player of the year. Coming off an Achilles tear at age 33 when he was rehabbing, he's now 34. He's got 8.5 sacks. He could put up double digits for the first time in his career. That's a pretty hard injury to come back from as a 20-year-old, yet alone a 30-something-year-old, an Achilles. So he should be the comeback player of the year. Nick Sirianni should be coach of the year. Hurts MVP. Howie Roseman, executive of the year. I mean, you could just go down the line here and give all these awards to the Eagles. And will they do it? That would be, unprecedented, I would think. But again, they've been the best team all year long. First team to clinch a playoff berth. So, why not? If it's deserved, then they should get it.
Yeah, and I think both national and local media will never realize the magnitude of dominance and how impressive this Eagles team is performing until they actually win the Super Bowl, because I don't think anybody's really believing what they're seeing. And we're talking to Ed Kracz, EaglesTodaySI.com. What I will tell you is this. I'm going to take it a step further. You're saying Jalen Hurts is doing things that most others can't do, Ed. I'm going to take it a step further and say, and people are probably scared to say this, Jalen Hurts is doing things we've never seen before done in the game of football. Like, he's going to have quite possibly 4,000 yards passing, 1,000 yards rushing, and he's going to account for over 40 touchdowns. And I hear people comparing him to Kyler Murray, but he's 4 inches taller and 30 pounds heavier, right? Like, he's a better thrower than Lamar Jackson. He's a better deep ball thrower than Patrick Mahomes, quite frankly. And he's just as good improvising and biding time in the pocket. Heck, and I know I use this comparison. I know Jose Canseco has been labeled as a cheat, but back when he was hitting 40-40 in the 80s, when it's never been done before, I think it's the equivalent of what Jalen Hurts is doing right here. And this is the next wave, the future of what everybody's going to be chasing in the NFL. I need to go find me a guy like Jalen Hurts. He is going to be the new model in the modern day NFL.
It's going to be hard to find somebody with that kind of skill set. And, what he has, that probably anybody that has that ability to be the mobile quarterback that can, score and keep plays alive with his legs and throw the ball. Will they have the same mindset as Jalen Hurts? I mean, his desire, it's really an unquenchable desire for him to be the best quarterback that he can be. And he works hard at it, man. Like he grinds in the offseason, he grinds during the season, he grinds. His mental approach to the game to be the best he can be is really unmatched. And I'm not sure there's a college quarterback out there now that has that type of mindset to go along with the skill set that Jalen Hurts possesses. Maybe there's some, 12-year-old somewhere, playing youth football someplace that might develop that. They might look at Hurts and say, I want to be like him. Like maybe he's influencing, a younger generation, but you have to have that mindset, man. And I don't know how you develop that. It's just, to me, that's the most amazing thing about his leap is just that desire to be great. And every day, he talks about his daily deposits, and his, getting 1% better. And, we all kind of, we've heard it so many times, but it's true, man. He that's what he wants to do. Every day he wants to get better, and he has. And, it's really just been kind of fun to watch. And he's doing things like, I think he's 15-1 since he lost to the Giants last year up at MetLife Stadium. He's 15-1 in the regular season. I know he had the playoff loss, but he's 15-1. He's the first quarterback to ever rush for 10 touchdowns in back-to-back years. I know Cam Newton has had 10-plus touchdowns in 2 of his years when he was really rolling, but he never did it in back-to-back years. Hurts has done it in back-to-back years, 10 touchdowns, and he still has 4 games to go. So, yeah, he's doing things that are historic, and we may never see anything like it again from anybody that's coming up in the near future.
Real talk. That's why I love talking to you, Eddie. I had so much to unpack there. Just a couple of side notes there. So I want everybody to make a side note because I understand this kid at Tennessee. He's like an early high school enrollee. Some people think he's better than the Arch Manning kid. I heard he might play in Tennessee's bowl game. He's the next big deal quarterback to keep a lookout for. But
Herndon Hooker. Is that his name? Herndon?
No. This kid's coming out of he's a senior in high school. He's a senior in high school. He's going to play in the Tennessee bowl game. The next guy. Yeah.
Wow.
And then it made me laugh after the game. Jalen Hurts said, everybody's got an opinion. You can go take it down to the bank and deposit it. We're talking to you, Micah Parsons. And then lastly, I want to say one thing to you, Ed. Maybe down the road at the end of the year, when you go back and look this up, I did some quick arithmetic. I went back and just looked at what percentage, like there's no quarterback in the league where the offense runs through Jalen Hurts or runs through the quarterback more than Jalen Hurts. So I said, hey, the Eagles have run 825 offensive plays, according to what I have.
Okay.
Jalen has accounted for 388 pass attempts, 139 rush attempts. So 527 of the plays out of 825 have run through Jalen. He's touched the ball or accounted for yardage on 64% of the offensive snaps. And as you know, he sat out the fourth quarter of the last 2 games. But I can guarantee you, I don't know the numbers for Mahomes and Burrow there, but I can guarantee you it's not even close to the percentage of the offense that's run through the quarterback as Jalen Hurts. Hey, I want to get some other topics in because we could probably talk about this all day long. It's already 10:20, might on my me. Speaking of stats, I got this one for you. I don't know if you saw this. They had 7 sacks again on Sunday. Now they have 49. This is an all-time historic team with the records. So they got 49 sacks through 12 games. They need 12 more sacks to break the all-time franchise record. Did you see this? Do you know when it was? Obviously, it was a Buddy Ryan defense.
I've written about it. I can tell you the 3 double-digit sack players.
Maybe I got this off of your article then.
Maybe, yeah, because I did research this. Yeah, that was 1984 and
89.
89. Okay.
89.
Okay. It was 89. Clyde Simmons, I think, had 15 and a half that year.
Yep. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. And Reggie White was a 12-ish.
11 right there.
11.
Ding.
And then Jerome Brown with 10 and a half.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. those were those were three studs in Eagles history. So you're right. I mean, we could be talking about this team. What's that been? 30 years, something like that. You're the math guy with the Hertz percentage of plays and stuff. I've used my hands, to count 8, 9, 9, 19. Yeah, so 30 something years since they had 62 sacks. So think about that. In 32 years, when you're still doing the show, and I'm probably pushing up daisies. You're going to be talking about these guys. You're going to be talking about Hassan Reddick, who's at 10 sacks right now, 2.5 away. You're going to be talking about BG, who might get to 10 sacks. You'll be talking about Josh Sweat, 7.5 sacks. Javon Hargrave at a career high 8. I mean, you have guys that you might be able to push 3 into that double-digit territory with 4 games left. Now, I know there's an extra game in there compared to 89, and I think 89 was a 16-game season, I think. But still, I mean, what they're doing, again, historic. Like Hurts on the offense, this pass rush could be historic as well.
And Fletcher Cox has 6 sacks. He's got an outside shot at double-digit, right? So here's my next question for you, Eddie, since you've been alive to see it. So my next question for you is, if I were to ask you, and granted, listen, the 89 Eagles didn't win the Super Bowl, so we could maybe stack them up. This current Eagles defensive line, what if I told you, combined, they have over 1,000 games played, 16 Pro Bowls, 4 All-Pros, 4 Super Bowl rings, and 333 combined sacks. Are you putting this defensive line ahead of that 1989?
It's probably it's hard to put a defensive line when you got a Reggie White and a Clyde Simmons. Jerome Brown, unfortunately, career cut short, passed away way too young, tragically. But I think it's deeper. I think you could say it's definitely deeper. They like to, and it's a different NFL, right? Like these guys back in the 80s are playing every snap, basically. Now it's more, let's keep our guys fresh. Let's develop a rotation. And I think you have a deeper. I mean, this is the first Eagles team to ever have 4 guys with 6 sacks or more this late in the season. So it's a deep defensive line. And I would even say, Rick, that it could be the best defensive line in the NFL. I know the 49ers have a good one. The Cowboys is pretty decent. But I think it's the best defensive line in the NFL. And they have the best offensive line in the NFL. So this philosophy of building within the trenches that the Eagles have had for years and years and years has really come to fruition this year. And credit to Howie for bringing in Linval Joseph and then Ndamukong Suh, late in the season, because that just makes them even better and deeper. And I think it is deeper than that 1989 team. Is it better? Again, I hesitate to go there because of Reggie.
Any defensive line with Reggie White is going to be better. I agree with you. I agree with you.
I don't know how many people that are listening saw Reggie play back in his heyday, but holy shit, he was so fun. He just threw you aside like a little, Raggedy Ann doll when he came, blasting in from the edge. He was a fun watch.
No, I agree with you. And I think Linval Joseph yesterday, he said he's never seen anything like this. He was a part of that 2010 Giants defensive line with Osi Umenora, Justin Tuck, Chris Canty, JPP. They had that NASCAR package. And he was talking about the similarities there. So, hey, Ed, we got to go. I know you've been making the rounds on JAKIB Sports, so I'm sure we got your Giants recap perspective, but give me a little prediction or outcome, what you see here with the Chicago Bears. Are the Eagles going to overlook Chicago and suffer a hiccup and be looking too far ahead to Dallas? Or I think this team just has too much veteran leadership to take the gas off the pedal, right? I see this as could we see a 50 burger?
It is a young defense, Chicago. I challenge you to name anybody on that defense because it's young. It's pretty much, nameless.
Well, only because I saw they returned to practice yesterday, Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker.
Yes, I was going to say, outside of Jaquan Brisker, who I loved coming out of Penn State, I thought, the Eagles talked to him. I thought there was a real shot they would take the safety, in the second round there. But didn't happen. And he's a really good player. And Kyler Gordon, of course, a good cornerback. But other than those two, I mean, I looked at their roster, and I don't recognize a whole lot of names on that team. So, I think the Eagles could. I don't think they'll put a 50 burger up, but I think they're going to win. I think they're going to stay focused. I mean, you're right. They have that leadership, and they're not done yet. And they all talked about it, that, hey, yeah, we're in the playoffs, but we're not, we want that number 1 seed. We don't want to have to get on an airplane in the middle of January to go anywhere. We want teams to come see us. And that's what happened in 2017. Big factor in why they got to the Super Bowl was that home field crowd was just bananas in those 2 games leading to the Super Bowl. So that's their goal. I don't see them losing focus, and they're going to win this game probably by 2 touchdowns at least.
I'll take it. Last one for you, since you brought it up. I think the home field advantage is critical, especially because the toughest opponent could be these 49ers.
Yes.
And you definitely want them to be the ones traveling cross country, right? But here's what I'm going to ask you, because I saw here, last one quickly. Brock Purdy with the oblique is a game time decision tomorrow night. They're going to be down to their 4th string quarterback, Josh Johnson, who's suited up for a quarter of the league, 8 different organizations. He's 1-8 as a starter, by the way. I had to go back and look. What a weird NFL year that we've got a team down to their 4th string quarterback as the second odds-on favorite out of the NFC. Is this a real thing? Like, do you think the 49ers can take this thing to the NFC Championship with their 3rd and 4th string signal?
Well, it's the defense, right? I mean, they already lost. Didn't they lose? They lost Samuel, but he might come back. But I think, they lost some other guys there too.
Samuel's out another month. Man.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey, he's an injury in waiting. But this defense is so good. I mean, they went to Green Bay last year on the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field, right? And they decked the Packers, who were the number 1 seed, 13-10. And so this defense, it's a force to be reckoned with. And I could see them riding the defense to the NFC Championship game. And as long as you have a quarterback that can kind of manage the game, not make any mistakes, sure, why not? I think they're definitely a threat to get there.
Man, I'll tell you, if Kyle Shanahan ever gets himself a real quarterback, watch out. He's Eddie Kracz. I'm Ric Serritella. Give the listening audience at home what the content you have coming out over at Eagles Today, SI.com. I see you got the podcast flowing. You did a little crossbreeding with Patricia Traynor last week. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Ed. Hit the listening audience at home with all the information there.
Yeah. Follow me on Twitter, Kratze, KRACZE, or, SI.com/NFL/Eagles. And, we'll just be getting you ready for the game coming up Sunday in Chicago. Today, the Eagles return to practice Wednesday, and we'll see if Lane Johnson's out there doing much. Well, I'm not sure they really need him to win. I know they have a losing record in their career without Lane, so he is important. But, we'll get a line on Reed Blankenship. We'll keep you up to date on the injuries and stuff that happens in the locker room. So, stay tuned.
All right, you heading out to Chi-Town?
Saturday, I am, yes. Flying out of the lovely metropolis of Newark, New Jersey. Straight flight, which is good, but So,
I noticed they always seem to wake up on the right side of the bed in Newark Airport. They're so friendly there.
I like to try to bring a little sunshine, Rick, when I'm walking the corridors, looking for my gate.
The friendly skies of the Newark International Airport. Hey, buckle up, Eddie. Safe travels. We'll do it again next week, hopefully. All right.
All right, Rick. I'll see you.
Ed Kracz here on the Football Playbook, Part 72 edition. Hey, we laugh, we cry, we chop it up, we break it down. We're going to pay some bills, take a quick commercial break. When we come back, keeping it moving, keeping it grooving with Glenn Irby, Eagles Newswire, USA